Hi, I'm Anne, and this is the first video in a series where we will be putting together a different traditional block each week. And these blocks are over a century old. This one is the first this week. It's my favorite traditional block, and it's called the Shoo Fly. The Shoo Fly block is the first block I ever made. And in doing research, I found out that it is the go-to historically to teach new quilters how to piece. So no wonder I was drawn to it. It's very simple. Some other things I learned about the Shoo Fly is that this block surfaced sometime around the 1850s, and it, as well as many other blocks, played a really important role during the time of the Underground Railroad. Sympathizers to people who were trying to escape slavery would hang quilt blocks on their clotheslines or their windows or on their house somehow. And these quilt blocks each had specific meanings. And so they would convey to the slaves, there is danger nearby, or even give them direction which way to go. The shoe fly blocks meaning at that time, it's reported, was that the people residing there could help get them going in the right direction on the Underground Railroad. So it's fascinating. The shoe fly's name came from a wild plant called the clover broom or shoe fly plant. And people would extract the juice from it and mix milk in it, and it would attract flies and kill them. So, the shoe fly. So, each week I will be writing a pattern that goes with the block that week. And though it's not necessary to have, if you would like to sign up to receive these in your email just before the next video post, then go to quiltingwebmaster.com/traditional. You can sign up there. All you have to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel and give me your email. And I will not spam you with anything else. I will just simply send this pattern to you each week. So for each block, I will be giving you cutting instructions for the 3-inch, the 6-inch, and the 9-inch version of that block. I will make the 3-inch and the 9-inch before the video, and I will demonstrate by putting together the 6-inch version. And I'll give you those cutting instructions now. I'm going to put them up on the screen also. So for the 9-inch block, you will need, we'll call this the background fabric and this the focus fabric. You will need 4 3.5-inch squares of the background fabric, 1 3.5-inch square of the focus fabric, and we're going to do these half square triangles 4 at a time. So for the 9-inch block, you will need to cut a 5 3/4-inch square from each background fabric and focus fabric, so 2 squares. And for the 3-inch version, you'll cut these little background squares, 4 of them, at 1.5 inch. You'll also cut this focus fabric in the middle at 1.5 inch. And for your 4 at a time half square triangles on the 3-inch block, you will cut 2 squares, one from each fabric, at 2 3/4 inches. And for the 6-inch block, you will cut 2 squares at 4 1/4 inches for the 4 at a time half square triangles. And you will cut these 4 background fabrics at 2.5 inches square and this one focus fabric at 2.5 inches square. So let's get started by making our half square triangles. So to make these half square triangles, we're going to put our fabrics right sides together, and we're just going to stitch a box 1/4 inch away from the edge all the way around the inside of this square. Okay, and it's hard to see, but I have this line stitched all the way around the inside of these at 1/4 inch from the edge. So we are going to cut diagonally, and I'm lining my ruler up to the inside corner of the stitching line, not necessarily the block edge. So lining up the points there diagonally, then we're going to cut this all the way across. And without moving anything, we're going to do the same thing the other direction. All right, so we have our half square triangles, and so I'm going to take these and I'm going to press mine to the dark side. All right, so I trimmed off the dog ears, but then I realized there's a whole step in between that would have taken care of those. We have to trim these down to 2.5 inches. I purposely made those larger squares oversized so that we would have wiggle room and be able to get a really nice 2.5 inch unit. And so I'm just lining up my diagonal line here with the seam. Trimming this down to a nice 2.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with the other 3. Okay, now we can lay out our shoe fly block. So I'm going to put the center squares right sides together over the left hand squares, and I'm going to use a scant 1/4 inch seam and just chain piece these together all the way down top to bottom. I'm going to open these up and I'm going to finger press them toward the dark fabric. Then I'm going to take the right hand squares and right sides together, stitch them to this left hand unit. All right, that doesn't look too shabby. And then for the final press, I'm going to go ahead and push these toward the center, kind of the path of least resistance. So yeah, let's get this pressed. There you have it, this shoe fly. I'm going to take this to the big cutting table and trim it down to 6.5 inches square. So that's it for this week's traditional block, the shoe fly. If you would like to put in the comments a traditional block you would like to see, I would love to tally those up and include those in this series as well. And don't forget, if you want this pattern delivered to your email box every week just before the next episode posts, then go to quiltingwebmaster.com/traditional. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.